The Trayvon Martin shooting has sparked a national movement. Right here in Sanford, we marched to the Civic Center behind me, but it's happening all over the country. 12 rallies were held today. In Atlanta, people gathered in front of the Georgia State Capitol. In New Orleans, students at the MLK Charter School wore hoodies and marched through the neighborhood to honor Trayvon. And over the weekend, rallies were held in more than 20 cities, including Chicago, Washington, D.C., Columbia, South Carolina, and Nashville, Tennessee. And churches all over the country, like this one in New York, held in services in hoodies yesterday. Athletes and celebrities are also getting involved. We're rallying, we're keeping the fight alive until George Zimmerman is arrested and we get justice for Trayvon. Joining me now in Sanford is the Reverend Jesse Jackson, founder and president of the Rainbow Push Coalition. He's been with us demanding an arrest. And joining us from L.A. is actor comedian Sinbad. He's been very active in helping to bring awareness to the tragedy. Sinbad is about the story that has moved so many, and he and other celebrities are getting involved. Let me start with you, Reverend Jackson. Reverend Jackson, you're here. We've marched, we went in front of the commission. Your view of today?
You know, it's the particulars of this case as the universal character of racial injustice and race profiling. For example, in this case, we hear on tape that a non-police officer, a vigilante, decides that he sees a young black man. He's advised, don't pursue him. He chooses to pursue him. He chooses to kill him in cold blood. And the police come, he's over him with the gun. And then, Al, they don't even put a tape around the crime scene. The killer walks away. They do a drug test on the murdered man and let the killer go without a drug test, an alcohol test, even a gun test. And so the blatant disregard to humanity kind of touches folks in a different kind of way. Of course, we want Mr. Zimmerman arrested. Secondly, we want the law repealed, the law that in fact encourages vigilantism. And the third thing, it's now time to have a revived abandoned assault weapons. And we've become much too violent. We lost less than 6,000 soldiers in Iraq in 10 years. About 30,000 killed a year at home. We got to have renewed commitment. Al, if it's black on white killing, it's jail time. If it's white on black, it's revolt time. If it's black on black or white on white, it's Miller time. We become much too relaxed about the whole issue of violence in our land.
Sinbad, what has touched you and celebrities so about this case that have gotten you to come out and stand up about what has happened to Trayvon Martin?
Well, you know, first of all, it's not about being a celebrity, being a member of the life of the 60s and 70s come up in America. First of all, I was appalled. I couldn't believe this could happen. I mean, I know this. We know we got crazy racism still, but to believe that someone could shoot someone and go home for dinner, it's like a hunter. It's like he went out to hunt for an animal, bagged his animal, and went home. If there hadn't been any social media, if there had been no, the Twitter and Facebook and things, we might not even have known about this. This young man would have died, and nobody would have known other than his family and loved ones. I'm shocked that, first of all, the stand your ground law, I don't get that at all, because the stand your ground law exists, that we should have shootings all the time, because people are fighting all the time around this country. So I guess the last one standing is the winner. For him to hunt this man down, to be in a car and be told, on the phone, leave it alone, go home. Even if he was a vigilante, say his neighborhood was unsafe, say you're trying to make sure your neighborhood is safe. Once you so-called pointed out what suspicious behavior, which we don't understand, I don't know what walking and looking strange means. A kid going home with some Skittles and a soda, I don't know how you can walk strangely. And now we're caught up in the whole thing with the hoodie. It's not even a hoodie. Everybody wears a hood. When it rains, you put one on. There's more white kids in suburban America wearing hoods, so that can't be suspicious. To me, it just sounds like a man had a thing out that night. He just had, today is the last day I'm going to take this, whatever he was feeling, and his actions played out. And he should be arrested.
Well, let me deal with what you raised about the law, though, Reverend Jackson. This law about stand your ground. Manuel Cleaver, chairman of the caucus, Sinbad talked about it. How do we deal with this law?
First of all, this guy had an assault with the police before.
Right.
This is the same police where a homeless man was beaten nearly to death and the beater walked away. He happened to be the son of the policeman. In this case, Zimmerman has some connection with the police department, so it's utterly corrupt. What we need to do now, I'm really convinced, given the breadth of the pain, whether we're in Florida, Sinbad's in California, revive the Civil Rights Commission again, so we can have a more credible assessment of where we are in terms of race in the country, and revive the Chronic Commission report. We simply are using too much anecdotes and not appreciating just how deep and how profound and painful we need. And I hope President Obama will leave it. I thought he did a good job given his own sense of passion. We now need a national dialogue and plan to address black pain. Number one, the infant mortality rate. Number one, the short life expectancy. Most unemployed, lost to most homes. We need not only a national conversation, we need some national reconstruction.
Sinbad, the Miami Heat wore hoodies, standing, making a statement. Are we beginning to see athletes and entertainers becoming even more public with their concerns?
I'm glad they were, because, I mean, you have to be an activist. I don't care if you're an entertainer, if you're an athlete. As a matter of fact, you should be the activist. You're the ones that kids look up to. You're the one that the world's looking up to. You're the one getting TV time. How can you hide your face? I mean, this anybody's child. We're talking about race. Anybody's child that is put down like this, I'll fight for you. Anybody's child that loses their life in this way is worth the fight. And I'm glad the athletes will stand up, and I'm glad entertainers will stand up, and I'm glad students across the country are standing up, because this man cannot be allowed to walk on this case. Will not stand for it.
My three sons, Congressman Jesse Jackson Jr., we bought him a new car after graduation. They made him stand spread eagle, humiliate himself. Yusef, he bring to Washington and Virginia, going to law school, new car. Parents bought it for him, had to go through the process. Jonathan, Northwestern, a graduate of, Masters in Business Administration, Northwestern A&T, handcuffed. I mean, so it's all three of our boys. And my wife and children, daughters, have been followed. So this race thing is real, and I hope that we will now use this as a teachable moment to come to grips with just how dangerous it is and how volatile. I will now the kind of tipping point. There's a rising. This guy still walking. The guy that killed Trayvon is still walking the streets today.
Now, you grew up in the movement. You were mentored by Dr. King. Some of us grew up under you. We see social networking, as Sinbad talked about, but we also see marching in the street, rallying. We had a big rally here last week. A lot of marches around the country. How much is the physical presence of these rallies important, along with the social network?
There are those who thought we were beyond marching, but marching for the Moses of today, marching matters. Discipline, nonviolent marching matters. I hope that no one will be a part of this action who will divert attention away from the case, even suggesting violence, because somehow there's power in discipline, direct action, and nonviolence. We see it happening. All those who are wearing hoods will have, along with their hood, a voter registration card, because there are 10 million blacks unregistered. So if you wear the hood and then no register and vote, then you went for the symbolism and missed the symbol. This is a teachable moment, because voters can do what serve on juries. Voters can elect sheriffs and prosecutors and judges, and so we need to be empowered, not just symbolically. The hoodie has its place, but more than the hoodie, we must also make this a teachable moment in terms of voter registration.
Reverend Jesse Jackson and Sinbad, thank you both for your time tonight. Thank you for being here, Reverend.
Congratulations for your show.
The tragedy is not about politics, but sadly, the usual suspects are at it again. That's next.